Hey everybody, welcome back to Red Right Lodge.
On tonight's episode, we are going to review 1979's film, Phantasm. Written and directed by Don Coscarelli, who also did Beastmaster from
Yep.
the 80s. It was one of my favorites when I was a kid.
I don't think I've seen that one.
We'll watch it.
Yes.
One of those comes up every time.
I know.
And he also directed John Dies in the End, which we watched a while back, and that's a more recent film.
Wait, who was in that?
I can't remember.
I think I do remember watching that one.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is memorable. But
He's-
I don't
he's-
really remember what happened.
I don't remember
I
either.
remember that we did watch that
Yeah,
one.
John Dies in the End.
Yeah.
But
Jesse.
yeah, Don has directed and written and been involved in other films too, but we're not mentioning those tonight.
Too many.
Yes, and for the cast for Phantasm, we have Michael Baldwin as Mike.
Yeah.
You know,
Is not one of the Baldwin brothers.
not
either.
one of the Baldwin brothers.
I asked. I thought he was, but because there's so many.
There's several.
You never know. Could be.
There are some non-Baldwin Baldwins.
Maybe. Are you sure it's not like a cousin?
No, I'm not sure.
Maybe it's a cousin.
But his father was an animator, and I don't know what that
So
means.
he's a nepo baby too.
Well, I don't know if we want to do that.
I don't know. Anyways.
So also, Jody, Mike's brother in the film, was played by Bill Thornberry, and their friend Reggie was played by Reggie Bannister,
Oh.
and the tall man
Yeah.
was played by Angus Scrim.
Which he is the most memorable
He's the most
character to me in this movie, in my opinion.
He's the icon.
Yeah, like he looks like a total cartoon character. It's wild. Like this whole movie is just ridiculous.
Well, that gets to what type of horror is this? Now, most people would just say, it's straight up like sci-fi horror or sci-fantasy.
I would say psychedelic. It's psychedelic
That's right.
horror.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and it's got that in a broader category. It's like a cosmic liminal horror.
Like even though it's 1979, it is so 70s. Like the music, just everything about this.
Yes, and it's very surrealistic and figurative. Like the meanings behind the whole thing is just kind of one big metaphor.
Yeah.
If my interpretation is correct, our interpretation.
My interpretation is that it's a cool movie, but it's a little confusing.
It is, and I think.
I mean, yeah, you have to just assume everything is, I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of interpretation to be made.
It's like,
And
is that
we can get
real?
into
Was
that.
that a dream?
Yeah,
What
we can
happened
get
and what
into
didn't
that.
happen?
Right. And, it actually has 4 sequels.
Yeah.
The second film wasn't until 9 years later.
So that makes you think, was it ever intended
I
to
don't.
even have?
It doesn't seem like it based on based on my research. It was Coscarelli's idea. He was inspired by Suspiria, which was a couple of years earlier. Dario Argento. He was intentionally obtuse, and it was just kind of, it left a lot of.
I'm not that familiar with him enough to really say.
Well, you've seen Suspiria. It leaves a lot of stuff unanswered. Is what I'm meaning, and it's very interpretive and I guess polynarrative. You can put on your own interpretation of it.
Yeah, what is polynarrative?
Like it could have a lot of different meanings, basically. Like the narrative looks one way, but every different person could interpret it.
I hate those kinds of movies.
well,
I'm more simple-minded.
no, that's not true.
I'm very intelligent, actually.
That is true.
But I like a movie that just gets and tells me. Like, I don't like unanswered questions.
And this movie has at least one big one.
Yeah.
But,
and I don't like that.
Yeah. It is mysterious.
And if there's an unanswered question, do not wait 9 years to tell us what happens.
Well, exactly. So I think his intention was just to leave it like that. He said, I think he was quoted saying he wanted to leave the audience, that he wanted the audience to leave the theater with a bang. And it was kind of a bang, or a crash, or however you want to interpret it.
A bang.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Like, what does that even mean?
I wanted it to be surprising and unexpected, which it was.
That's like a weird 70s like way of saying things.
Perhaps.
We don't talk like that anymore. That's why I'm like, when I think of leaving someone with a bang, I think of excitement, action. Like, I don't know.
That's what he said.
Not psychedelic horror, unanswered weird dream questions. But I'm not hating on this movie. I love this movie because it's so weird.
It's all about style. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, the music, the set pieces, the
now who plays
gore.
The older brother again?
That is Bill Thornberry.
Yeah, he has like some really cool outfits. Like he's wearing this really cool Rolling, like this it's vintage now, but then it was like brand new. This Rolling Stones shirt and bell bottoms. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
There were some nice jean jackets in there.
His best friend though is always got he's an ice cream man.
He drives an ice cream truck.
So he's always got on his little ice cream suit, which is interesting.
Right.
So anyways, the movie.
The movie was set.
Let's talk about the movie.
Yeah, well, we are talking about the movie. The movie was set in a cemetery called Morningside.
Yeah.
And in the center of the cemetery is a mausoleum. Mm-hmm. This beautiful old, I don't know.
It's really nice.
Greek
it's like
revival
an
house.
all-inclusive cemetery. Like they've got the morgue, they've got
the mortuary.
Yeah, all that. It's all there.
Yeah.
And then this kid and his brother, they like live next door basically. I guess like
close to it
through the woods or something.
Yeah, right.
And
Mike.
Yeah.
It kind of the story really centers around him and his emotions involving the things that have happened in his life.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
I guess his brother's friend recently passed away.
That is the opening scene. His brother's friend, Tommy, is stabbed to death by a woman he is in love with in the cemetery. And then before that, like 2 years... their parents had died, and that's wrapped up into the narrative. They bring that out in some dialogue.
Yeah, but his brother's friend was just killed by this girl. Like they were like, getting it on, and she just stabs him.
Yep.
I'm like, siren.
Yeah,
Witch.
Well, and it flashes. So when this happens, Tommy is obviously surprised. And it flashes her face into the tall man's face, the icon character.
Basically, symbolizing that the woman is not really herself, but that she's really the tall man.
Yes, and that editing right there prepares you for much of the movie being symbolic. I think.
Then what happened?
Well, so. Jody is taking care of Mike.
Yeah.
And, he's his caretaker now. And Mike is going around. He witnesses some strange things around the funeral.
Yeah, because he just
Tommy.
like hangs out.
Yeah, he's like hanging out. He's not really at the funeral, but he sees like this strange small little creature run behind a tombstone. He's like looking from a distance. And at this point,
he obviously... Yeah, wait, so when did that happen?
That was like during or right after the funeral because he's got binoculars somehow.
Yeah, that's right. He's just like in the mausoleum.
Well, no, this is before. He's outside.
No, he's not in the mausoleum. He's outside.
Yeah, and he sees the tall man.
He sees the tall man. Is this before or after he's able to carry the casket?
This is what is happening,
What are those cars called?
A hearse.
A hearse.
Yeah. the tall man, he witnesses him just pick up this casket, presumably filled with a dead body, and sticks it into the car,
weighs
which
like
no man could do.
500 pounds.
Right.
It's like super heavy.
So he finds that strange,
yeah.
and it is strange. The next scene, I guess, or shortly after, we see Jody, the older brother. He's hanging out at the bar, the Dunes Lounge, the Dunes Tavern or something like that, and he picks up this girl. And it just so happens to be...
Oh, yeah. It's the same girl that killed his friend.
Yeah, but he doesn't know, obviously.
He doesn't know.
Actually, they all think Tommy had killed himself. Not sure why, because he was stabbed.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, that's what they think.
They never caught the girl, and they just assumed that he had stabbed himself in the stomach.
Right, as one does, I guess, in a cemetery.
Yeah, that's a very common...
Right. So
Anyways.
This lady, credited as the Lady in Lavender, they start walking off and they're headed to the cemetery. And they make their way out to one of the gravestones and they're starting to make out. And guess who's creeping on them but his younger brother?
Oh, yeah. It's so funny. He gets so excited, too. Like, he's like...
Yeah, he's creeping. So
he's definitely peeping.
Right. So he's looking out, and then he hears something in the woods, and it's this strange, inhuman type sound.
Yeah.
And it's not even an animal sound either. And he hears rustling, and then all of a sudden,
it's another one of those little...
Yeah, he's what he saw earlier. And it looks like a Jawa. They're like rabid Jawas.
Yeah.
From Star Wars.
Yeah, Jawas, the little teddy bears.
No, that's an Ewok.
Oh.
But that's okay.
What's a Jawa then?
Jawas are the ones that collect the droids and mechanical parts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Guys.
They do look more like that.
Yeah, with the hooded figure. Yeah, so this is a hooded dwarf-like creature that makes strange inhuman noises and chases Mike out of the woods where he's hiding.
Past
he
his
runs
brother
right past
and the girl.
his brother and the girl. And it's kind of humorous.
Yeah, he's like, oh crap, that's my brother.
Yeah, gotta go get him.
Stay here. I'll be back.
Right. And so he chases him down and he questions him. He says, oh, I wasn't meaning any harm. I did follow y'all here though. And then he explains to him what he heard. And, Jody doesn't believe him.
No, he doesn't believe him.
And he says, "Go. Here's the keys to the Barracuda. You take that on home."
Yeah, but he doesn't go home, does he?
Yeah, I think he does. But
yeah.
Jody doesn't. Jody goes back to find the girl.
The girl,
his date.
Not there though.
She's gone.
She's gone.
Right. So he's kind of left scratching his head, Scooby-Doo like. And
then what happened?
Then
we just watched this and I already forgot.
No. But no, then Mike was supposed to go home, but he goes back to the mausoleum.
That's
and
what I thought.
In.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
but he didn't go. That's what I thought.
Yeah, you were right. I'm sorry.
And the tall man.
Yes.
Look, so they're in the mausoleum.
Yes. So he's sneaking around, and he gets he gets cornered in one of the, it looks like the casket showroom or something, and he hides in a casket. The caretaker comes in there and is looking around. Then the tall man comes in there and is looking around. They don't see him.
Yeah, no, he breaks into the actual cemetery, like the main house. Yeah, right. He kicked in the basement window.
Yes.
And then I guess they heard him.
Yes, they must have heard him make a noise. They probably heard the window being broken.
Probably.
And then so he gets up and gets out and starts walking around the mausoleum part with, all the graves, shelves or however, drawers. And so he's walking around, but then suddenly the caretaker grabs him from behind.
That's right, he got caught.
Yes. And what happens? What do we see for the first time?
What do we see?
The flying death ball.
Oh, yeah, that's when the ball comes out. This is when, oh my God, I remember the first time I saw this, I was like, what?
Right, because it's like, it comes out of nowhere. And this is where the movie really starts to switch.
Yeah, because at first it's like, okay, it's like
a thriller mystery.
Like medieval type. We've got dwarves, we've got magic. Then all of a sudden they throw in these sci-fi robot flying balls.
Yeah, just one as far as we know, but yes, and it starts speeding down the hallway chasing about head's height. Mm-hmm. The caretaker has Mike, around the neck. Mike gets loose, and the ball, which has now sprouted these two blades, and it stabs the caretaker right here, and then a drill comes out and drills in his nose, and you see the flesh sort of bump up, and then out of the back of the ball, like it's digesting this guy, just squirts blood. I mean, it's an amazing kill, to be honest.
It is. The effects aren't scary, though.
No, I wouldn't say scary. It's just really school. Like, whoa, what just happened?
But they weren't expecting that little ball either. Like, what does that say?
Right. Nobody expects a flying chrome orb.
But they're obviously in on something.
Oh, the caretaker. Yeah, probably. Yeah, but we don't really know. That's the last we see here. One of those mysterious things that are left unanswered. It never really
explains the robot balls.
No, it really doesn't. Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. Unanswered questions.
Another unanswered question. Comes around the corner, and there the tall man is. He sees him. And they have like
they just kind of stand and stare, and he's like, oh, I got caught.
He's like, oh, man.
And your friend's dead.
Yeah, he's like walking toward him, and then he bolts, down this hallway, and the tall man gives chase, and then he finally runs into a closet that has a big old iron door.
Oh yeah.
And the tall man's right behind him.
Right behind him.
And
then he shuts the door on his hand.
Yes, shuts the door on his hand. His hand is like doing this and this, and then
all of a sudden,
he pulls out his Bowie knife.
Yeah, he's got a knife.
Yeah, and he chops off his fingers. They fall on the floor, and they're wriggling around on the floor in the yellow ichor. Oh, it's just disgusting.
And then all of a sudden, you realize he's not human.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
Oh, one thing we forgot to mention, which I think bears saying, is sometime before he breaks in, but after he sees the strange things at the funeral, he goes to a fortune teller. I wanted to point it out because the sign for her shop has a red right hand on it.
Yeah,
so neither one of us remembered that, at least not consciously. And in any case, we'll throw an image of that up. But he goes and the fortune teller tells him, oh yeah, it's all gonna be okay. And they do this strange little therapy with a box that he sticks his hand in, which is
therapy,
right? Which is maybe influences David Lynch in the scene in Dune with Paul Atreides putting his hand in the box and not being able to
take it out. Which came first?
But this one did.
So when did Dune come out again?
Well, Frank Herbert wrote Dune in late 50s, I think. And then the movie came out in like 81. Is the box
in the book?
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it is. But it's been a long time since I've read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any case, that was just and a little aside with the fortune teller.
Well, if it was in the book,
then that technically came first, and it could have been inspired by
maybe this was actually inspired by that.
And it could have been. And I noticed that the tavern's name was Dunes, which is
look at that
little coincidence, but who knows? All right, so fingers chopped off. He picks one. He picks up one of them and he takes it home with him.
Yeah,
because he's got to convince Jody that he's not crazy.
And he puts it in another little box.
Lots
of boxes.
Yeah. So he and Jody eventually have this conversation. He said, "Look, I got to show you this."
Yeah, like you don't believe me? Then here, look at my finger. I have a box that's still moving. Right. And he does, and he sees it, and then he's like, "Okay, yeah, I believe you. All right." I guess you can't argue with that. So.
Right, yeah. Because the finger's still in there.
It's still moving.
It's new, and it's still wriggling.
Which looks like mustard, by the way.
It looks exactly like mustard.
His blood looks just like mustard.
Yeah, it's Jody and Mike, the two brothers. They decide they're going to go back to the mausoleum. Now Reggie's still kind of in and out of the story. That Jody's friend, the ice cream truck driver, he's still in and out of the story, but it's not a big part yet. But he gets well.
It like catches him up, but he's like in here fighting his own battles.
That's
like
right.
This whole time, like he's really.
Yeah. So they're on their way there. They end up getting chased by the hearse.
Yeah.
And it's a
Nice
shoot 'em up Western style chase.
Uh-huh.
Where with the kid driving.
The kid's driving.
And the and Jody's basically sitting out and shooting the shotgun at the car behind him.
He's really good with the shot too. By the way,
he's good. And eventually it wrecks, and the hearse drives off the side of the road. So they get away. And then they go up to the hearse to see what's going on. They want to check, see, because they noticed, like, when they're driving by, they're like, there's nobody driving the car.
Yeah.
So they get up to it, and they open the door, and lo and behold,
there was someone driving. It was just a very short dwarf.
It was one of the rabbit Jawas.
Yes.
And they pull his hood back, and who is it? It's Tommy. Or it's Tommy's head. Or it's Tommy as a dwarf.
And if you don't remember, Tommy was his brother's friend who also was recently killed by the lady in the cemetery.
And buried at the in the cemetery.
Yeah, buried.
So Reggie shows up with the ice cream truck. Mm-hmm. I don't remember how he got there exactly, but he shows up and like, all right, we got to store Dwarf Tommy's body in your truck. Jody says, Reggie, take Mike to Sally and Sue's antique shop, and so they can watch after him.
Yeah, that's right.
So he goes and drops them off.
Yeah, so he drops them off.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Reggie's supposed to meet Jody back at the mausoleum so they can go kill the tall man.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But that's interrupted. So we see, what happens to Tommy in the antique shop? He's looking around. He's looking at all these pictures.
God,
and then he sees this old picture. It looks like 100 years old.
Yeah.
1870. And it's an old man in a top hat with a horse and buggy.
I was spacing out during the scene.
Oh, that's okay.
I forgot this part.
That's all right. So he sees the picture, and it turns out it's the tall man.
The tall man.
Yeah, so he discovered. And then he's like, you got to take me home right now.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so he's been there all along.
I can't believe I missed that scene.
Well,
I don't know what I was thinking about.
It's okay. So, and in the meantime, Sally and Sue are going to take Mike back to his house like he's demanding. Mm-hmm. And Reggie, in the meantime, hears this knocking at the back of the truck. He's hauling his way to the mausoleum, and it turns out Dwarf Tommy is not dead, or whatever he is. He starts to attack.
Yeah.
Reggie makes Reggie wreck, and turns the truck on its side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then Sally and Sue are hauling Mike back in their Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah.
And they come across Reggie's turned over truck.
Uh-huh.
And they stop.
It's like, don't get out, girls. I'm gonna go investigate.
Oh yeah, good idea. So he goes and he's investigating. And then he comes back.
And he's like, we gotta go.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here.
Gotta get out of here. And the girls just don't listen.
They kind of hesitate for some reason.
They're hesitating for a very long time, and then
incredibly long.
The dwarves come and they get them. They attack them, and they're like, not really sure what's going on. They're just kind of like,
it's very chaotic,
and everybody's screaming. And all of a sudden, the boy's head gets busted through the back window, and he flies out of the back of the car, and the girls just drive forward, and you can just hear them screaming off in the distance, and it slowly dies away.
Yes.
And then what happens?
Mike makes his way to the mausoleum. he gets there. Oh, he runs there. It's all very close in proximity, apparently. So he gets there.
Yeah, it must be a super small town.
Right. And he gets into the mausoleum and he's looking around. And finally, Jody runs into Mike. And he takes him back to his house. And he correctly locks him into his room. Using a screwdriver, he jams the door shut from the outside, as one did in the 70s, I guess. And Mike's all downtrodden and sad. He's stuck there. He can't go and help. Jody goes back to the mausoleum to kill the tall man. But Mike is, as we have seen previously, he's the one who works on the car. He's the one who drives the motorbike. He's got some kind of mechanical know-how, and one of the shotgun shells was left in his room.
Oh yeah.
And he decides to jerry-rig this.
His way out.
Yeah, on a hammer, and he slams it into the door. Of course, it explodes a hole in the door. And it's one of those paper-thin doors you could just bust it through.
Yeah, one of those old-school doors.
But this is very dramatic. And he opens up the door and gets out and escapes. And he runs out of the house, out the front door. And guess who's there?
Who?
The tall man.
The tall man, that's right. He was right at the front door.
Yes. And so he grabs him and he throws him in the back of the hearse. But Mike, being Mike, is able to. Oh, he has a gun on him. I forgot he has a gun on him.
This family is very pro-gun.
They all got guns
Let me tell you, they are packing.
They are packing.
They got a shotgun. They got handguns. They got knives.
Right.
Like, they're ready.
Maybe in the extended cut, it talks about how their dad was a vet or something. In any case, or a hunter, or both. But he's got a gun, and this is a big gun, and he shoots through the back window, that window that separates.
Yeah.
And then he blows out the tires through the bottom of the floor into the wheel well and blows, and he jumps out of the car just in time because the hearse runs into a telephone pole, and as
this kid's good. I mean, for a 13-year-old.
Yeah. It bursts
tough.
into flames.
Crazy.
Presumably burning the tall man to death. If he can die.
It's never the case.
Yes.
These monsters they're like, it's always like Jason.
Yeah.
Not like you, but, like Friday the 13th.
Right.
Never dies.
Never dies.
You cannot kill them.
Yeah, that's the true never-ending story.
Ha!
So, Mike, at that point, he runs back to the mausoleum, and he's running around in there looking for Jody. And he's being chased by the death ball again. And suddenly, Jody comes around the corner, and he, with a shotgun, just blows the flying death ball right out of the air.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's funny because I remembered as a kid, and we watched this not before tonight, not too long ago, and I still think of the ball being a really iconic part of the movie, but it's in the movie for like 15 seconds total.
I completely forgot about it.
But in any case, that's what happens. Jody destroys the ball, and suddenly Reggie shows up. I mean, we all thought he was a goner.
Yeah, and then he explains that he was busy saving those two girls, the Sally and Susie.
Yes, they had been abducted by the rabid Jawas, taken to the basement. He obviously came into the basement and saved them.
And saved
Took
them
out
because he knew that's where everyone was.
Right. Yes, and then he went back in to help Jody and Mike.
Help save the day.
Right. And so there's this room at the end of a hall that has this like Greek sculpted relief above the threshold. And you see it a couple of times. Doesn't seem to mean anything specifically. And then they finally go into it.
Oh.
And it's like filled with light.
That's right.
Yeah. And it's filled on a couple of sides with these canisters that are, it looks like 55-gallon drums, maybe a little smaller, plastic, but they're stacked up high, and they got little viewports on. There's also these two standing chrome posts. So Jody looks into one of the viewports. It's like, it's one of the dwarves. The dwarves are in there, and those posts on the ground, they're stuck in the ground. They're vibrating or something. You can't see them vibrate, but you hear this high-pitched humming. And while Reggie and Jody are like looking into those things, their Mike is like passing his hand through in between these two posts, and it's like making this weird noise, and his hand's disappearing as he does it. And then he can't, that's not enough. His curiosity is not satisfied. So he decides to stick his head in it, and he gets sucked into it. And as he's sucked into it, what he sees is another place, like another realm, a whole nother planet or dimension. And it's totally red. You just get a glimpse of it, and you see these empty canisters and the dwarves walking off.
It's like a pack of them walking
in
a trail.
It's a herd of rabid Jawas walking in a trail away from these canisters that have been opened. And Mike witnesses this.
He interprets it as they're being used as slaves.
Right. The dead bodies, the people who have died and being buried in that cemetery, are being turned into these dwarves to be made slaves. And so, luckily, Jody had seen him go through that portal and grabbed him by his belt and jerked him back out. And so that's how he came back with all this information. Like, he suddenly knew what was going on. Like, the tall man is taking these people, creating these dwarves, and he's making them dwarves because the gravity on his planet is so strong. And the heat.
Yeah.
Something about that. So then, that's what he tells them. They're like, oh, okay, that's terrible.
I must have missed that part too.
Well, it didn't. It took less time for that to happen in the movie than it did for me just to explain.
Yeah, like I don't even remember him talking about the gravity. I remember him like mentioning the slave part, but I don't remember him talking about the gravity.
Well, the slave part's the big takeaway. But so they end up getting separated because the lights go out, and Jody, all three get separated somehow. Maybe magically. We're not really. It doesn't really explain.
Who knows? It doesn't explain much.
So Jody and Mike are in separate places outside of the house now, looking for each other, yelling for each other. Reggie, the lights come back on, and now is when So earlier, we see Reggie show up at Jody's house. This is before all the crazy stuff happens. And they're strumming on the guitars right there. They're pretty good, actually. They're like a little jam band. And Reggie takes a tuning fork right at the end of the scene and puts it onto the guitar like he was going to tune.
Does a little tuning fork action.
And it's a little foreshadowing to this scene right now.
It is.
Yes. So that's what you were talking about, the tuning fork.
It is.
And so he's putting two and two together, and it flashes back to the tuning fork, and he's like, and he puts his hands on it, and it blows him back, and it opens up the portal. Yeah,
it like stops the vibration.
The black hole, the white hole,
it stops everything for a second, and then all of a sudden, the entrance starts sucking everything into it. Like all the trash can barrel things on the walls start slowly being sucked down, and it's picking up speed slowly, and he's crawling on the ground trying to get out of this room, and he finally makes it and shuts the door behind him.
Well, shuts the door to the closet. Well, in the meantime, like right when he puts his hand,
I remember now.
Mike was being followed in the woods or chased by the tall man, and then suddenly he's face to face with the lady in lavender, both wielding knives, which is really the tall man.
Be a duel.
Yes, and then when he puts his hands down on that and it opens the portal, it must have alerted the tall man because suddenly he's like it startles him.
It shocks him.
He didn't expect anybody else to open up the portal, and Mike gets a chance to get away.
Yeah.
So at that point,
and then Reggie, he gets out of the house too, right?
Yeah, Reggie ends up getting out of the house.
Everybody gets out.
Everybody's out of the house now.
And then that entrance is still sucking things into itself.
Still sucking things in.
And then
Reggie encounters, or he sees lying on the front lawn, the lady in lavender.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't know anything about this lady.
It's just another
girl to rescue.
And,
another damsel in distress.
Unfortunately, when he comes to her rescue, she stabs him.
Yeah.
She wakes up and stabs him.
And he's shocked, and then she turns back into the tall man. And he dies. Jody and Mike have embraced and come together by this time. And the wind's blowing, it's sucking stuff in to the house from the outside. And Mike's like, no, we got to get Reggie. And Jody's like, no, he's dead already. We got to get out of here. And so the
house,
they take off in the CUDA.
Yeah, and then the house does end up disappearing.
Yes, in Doctor Who fashion.
Yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah.
Gone.
Turns colors and gone.
And so what? Everything's hunky dory. House is
Not
gone.
Quite.
Oh yeah, that's right. The tall man, he was outside the house too. So
yes, that's right.
We still have to defeat him.
Right, and Jody and Mike are presuming that he is still around because they make Jody has a plan. Once they pull up to the house, he's like, "There's this old mine shaft down by Center Creek.
The old Center Creek mine shaft,
and it's 1,000 feet deep. We can lead him to that, and then he can fall in." And it'll kill him.
Yeah.
So they go inside, and Mike is up in his room anyway, Mike gets attacked by the tall man, and he runs outside of the house, and he runs, he's doing the plan, I guess. And he runs, and tall man gives chase. He jumps over the mine shaft. Tall man doesn't know it's there. He falls down into the mine shaft 1,000 feet.
Just like catching a bear or something.
Yes.
Down in the mountains.
And, there's just...
because they'll have like a hole with a little net and leaves on it, and then they run, and then they just land in the hole.
That reminds me of a scene from Beastmaster, actually. Crazy. But, so anyway, he falls in the hole, and suddenly all these boulders are crashing down like a landslide.
Perfect landslide of boulders.
Yeah, it falls into the hole.
Down.
And Mike looks up at the top of the hill. There's Jody.
Yay.
Yeah, he obviously pushed these 1,000-pound boulders down.
Boulders closed up the hole.
Yes, closed up the hole.
Enclosing the mine, and trapping the tall man, and saving the day.
That's right.
Woohoo!
Then they go back home, and you see Mike asleep. And he wakes up. And then he's suddenly talking in front of a fire to Reggie. And Reggie explains to him.
He's consoling him.
Yeah, he's so, it's all right. It was just a nightmare. It was all just a nightmare. And Reggie explains to him, he's like, it was just, your brother just died. The funeral was just a few days ago. You're having a nightmare.
So it wasn't his brother's friend who died this whole time.
Apparently, it was his
brother.
And he had no idea how to deal with that.
And so pain. This whole thing was just a dream.
Or whatever you call it when you replace, a coping mechanism.
Mechanism.
Right. And so Reggie is consoling him. He's like, I'll take care of you. I can't ever replace your brother, but
I'm gonna try.
I'm gonna try. And then he's like, you know what? We need a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Road trip. I mean, which is the obvious thing to do.
Yeah.
So Mike's like, all right, let's do it. And he leaves. He goes upstairs. Reggie breaks out the guitar. Cuts to Mike. Going to get ready in his room, and he's getting ready, and he closes his closet door, which has a mirror on the other side of it, and who's in the mirror?
The tall man.
The tall man's in the mirror.
So was it a dream?
I know. And then he turns around, and the tall man's not there, but something grabs him through the mirror and sucks him in.
And then it's over, and it cuts to the credits, and that's it.
The end?
So what happened?
Yes.
What happened? I don't know. We're not going to know for another 9 years.
That's true.
And then,
if ever,
then they make 3 more movies. So apparently they don't even answer it in that one.
Or they are answering different questions, unanswered questions
I haven't
from the
seen
second
any of the
one.
other ones.
No, we haven't watched them.
I don't know.
But we may. It's not going to be first time over
is
this,
such a
I have to
different
say.
vibe than 79. I feel like
88.
movies.
But
88.
yes, you're right. You're right. It is.
79,
totally
it's like
different.
a bad movie can be like good and campy. But the late 80s is getting a little tacky.
Yeah. Well,
Late
yeah, I
80s,
don't know.
early
Yeah, it's
90s.
difficult to pass judgment on them, but I don't hold out a lot of hope.
Maybe we'll watch them and do like a review and like do
a
a
quick
bundle
review of all 3, probably.
Even though he refuses to watch all the other Tremors.
But
But I kind of do too. We tried to watch the second one, we just couldn't get through it.
Yeah. Nothing against Earl, but anyway.
It's just made for TV movies.
Yeah.
And when they're sequels,
Yeah.
it's not good.
And yeah, so.
And like you can only make so many movies. I mean, they really made 5 Phantasms.
I mean, we can only watch so many movies. I mean, and there are so many on our list to review. We haven't even discussed what we're going to review
The
next.
first
so we don't really have
time I
review
watched
of that.
Phantasm, I'll say.
Yes, do.
I was like, this is wild. The second time I watched it, I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, okay. So it is worth watching once. I mean, because it's crazy, and you do have to consider it in its context. If someone made that exact movie, if someone made that exact movie right now, it would probably be Blockbuster. But especially if Sam Raimi did it. I guess that's all we have for now. Thanks for watching once again, and we would recommend watching this movie. But
I do. I definitely
once.
recommend it. It's good.
Yes.
I have an idea for our next movie.
Oh, okay.
Just a possibility. Maybe not.
Mhm.
This is another crazy movie.
Okay.
Sleepaway Camp.
Okay, so that is a crazy movie.
Sleepaway Camp.
That's a super twisted one. I'm thinking more along the lines of either The House That Jack Built or X.
Oh yeah,
or
X and Pearl.
Yeah,
gotta do those
or
together.
Mandy.
Oh yeah.
Mandy's
Oh,
crazy.
Mandy was really good.
Or even The Thing.
Well, I think we should do episodes on
Dead.
all of these movies.
Oh, well, we will eventually.
But
it's just
what do
what's
you guys
next?
want to see next?
Yeah, and I know we've had some suggestions. The Shining was a suggestion.
Yeah.
Cold Skin was one, and I started watching that way too late one night to preview it, but we didn't finish it. We fell asleep.
Oh.
That was a while back.
We'll have to try again.
Yes. But anyway.
Thanks so much.
Yes, thanks for watching, and leave more suggestions if you care to, and like and subscribe. And
See
we'll
you
see
on the next one.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the Red Right Lodge.
Good night.
Good night.